Today on What's Next.
I'm afraid to go home. I want to get up every morning and be able to play music. And however that turns out, that's okay with me.
So I applied, got turned down, applied, got turned down, and after 6 years, NASA selected me. We're all so close together, and we have to find a way to live together.
Are you ever afraid, though? You're 89, you're a woman, you're alone, you're in a car that's got 500,000 miles on it. This is why you're not afraid?
Maybe you shouldn't show that.
Hello and welcome to What's Next. You have brains in your head, you have feet in your shoes. You can steer yourself any direction you choose. That could be the slogan for What's Next, but of course, it's a line from Oh, the Places You'll Go by Dr. Seuss, a book inspiring kids to dream about their future and make positive choices. Lessons that are as important to us today as they were when we were children. Joining me as we talk about Oh, the Places You'll Go, Bill Schaefer, Amy Sweezy, and Cecily Wilson. And Bill, start us off with your story about a man who rose to stardom early in life and is really showing no signs at all of slowing down in his 80s.
Excellent. I want you guys to meet Brian Hyland. He's the guy behind some very memorable songs that you probably know. And he's a guy who had no idea he was destined for success. His story shows us you never know where life can take you. So when an opportunity arises, take a chance. Let's go bolder backstage. It was 1960. Brian Hyland was just 16 years old. One day he was a freshman in high school, and the next, an international teen idol. All because of a bathing suit?
It was an Itsy Bitsy Teenie Weenie yellow polka dot bikini that she wore for the first time today.
Hyland was an office boy at Cap Records. He'd never sung with a band before, but they let him record some demos. And I guess they liked it. Everybody did. And in an instant, Hyland had a hit.
Up till that point in my neighborhood, I was invisible. With all the girls and all of that, I was just another kid in the neighborhood. And then when I got on television with a hit record, so that all changed.
You weren't trying to be, but all of a sudden you become this teen heartthrob.
Yeah.
Everything is different, and you're just a teen yourself. How did you handle that?
Just one day at a time.
You loved it, right?
One day at a time.
It was every minute.
Yeah, like I said, I was invisible up to that point, and then all of a sudden everybody's lining up on my stoop for my autograph.
Itsy Bitsy did big things for Hyland. It became a million seller in just 8 weeks, and everything changed, except for him.
I was just focused on getting another song, just getting better.
So it wasn't stardom that pulled you into the business, it was the music.
Yes, definitely.
And the hits kept coming, charting again 2 years later at the age of 18 with this.
Though we gotta say goodbye for the summer, darling, I promise you this, I'll send you all my love every day in a letter sealed with a kiss.
And now, over 60 years after, Hyland is back in the studio doing it again. Brian, you have had some really quality music come out in the last handful of years. Very strong singles, and that's why you're here at Solar Studio now.
Yeah.
To re-record Sealed with a Kiss in a whole new way that's gonna grab people.
Guess it's gonna be a cold, lonely summer, but I'll fill the emptiness.
What was it like for you, Brian, after 60 years to dive back to recreate this song? I guess recreate's a bad way to put it. You've kind of changed it and gave it a whole new vibe and feel.
Yeah, it's, well, I've been doing it ever since it came out, but this was like a whole new take on it with the arrangement.
For a former teen idol, Brian Hyland has a lot going on. He's a newlywed, updating his classic hits, recording new ones, and now in his 80s. Not bad for a guy who's only really wanted one thing in life.
I want to get up every morning and be able to play music. And however that turns out, that's okay with me.
Brian Hyland was an office boy at a record company, said he'd never even sung with a band before, but he got a shot and it changed the rest of his life. Cecily, Brian was barely old enough to drive, and we tend to think of opportunity as being something for the young. What are your thoughts on that?
No, opportunities for any and everyone. I will say that I recently took an opportunity with a major airline that allows me to travel across the world, and doesn't cost me a dime, but I'm experiencing all of these opportunities in places that I will go. It's so much fun. So it was an opportunity that I didn't even know existed.
Cecily, I'm inspired by your adventures for sure. And the fact that, yeah, you didn't just sit back and say, oh, I'd love to travel someday. You made it happen for you, and I love that. I think that's true. Opportunity can happen at any age, and obviously Brian proved that over and over again with his song that's coming out, this remake that's coming out here soon.
You know, guys, if you are the right age, and I certainly am, a song like that will take you immediately back. And I gotta tell you, Teenie Weenie, or Itsy Bitsy, Teenie Weenie, Yellow Polka Dot Bikini was very provocative. It was scandalous back in the day. And how have things changed compared to, say, a Doja Cat song today? You know, amazing, Bill, but I love the story, love the song. Put a Brian bow on this thing for us. What'd you get out of it?
You know, I had to remind myself, Mark, over and over again that he's in his 80s. You know, I think it's the older I get, the younger 80 seems. And I don't think it's just me. I think it's guys like Brian who don't fit the stereotype of passing the time away in his recliner. These days, they're out there. They're everywhere in every walk of life. They're creating, they're learning, they're experiencing, and showing us that a bright future is possible for all of us.
You're looking at the only person in the world that beat Michael Jordan's hang time.
He's gonna fly up, and it's off the wall. What a dunk.
The crowd goes wild.
Thank you.
I'm Bill Schaefer, glad you're with us here on What's Next. And while some people are okay with thinking about where they've already been, Larry DeLucas is focused on where he is going. And that's pretty impressive, since where he's been is pretty cool. He was an astronaut on the space shuttle, and now he's launched himself into the world of masters athletics, and he loves it. There have been two constants in Larry DeLucas' life: his desire to reach for the stars and his determination here on Earth. DeLucas accomplished them both, one as an astronaut, the other firmly grounded in the world of masters athletics. At bowling, he's a natural. The space part, well, that was more of a dream, born when he was emotionally overcome seeing a shuttle launch in person.
And I was crying. It's so powerful, and I just knew somehow I have to get selected and experience this. And so I applied, got turned down, applied, got turned down. And after 6 years, NASA selected me, and I ended up flying on the Space Shuttle Columbia in 1992.
DeLucas says the experience is life-changing.
I just realized we're all so close together, and we have to find a way to live together.
He also realized that if you have a chance to do something that's never been done before, take it.
Here comes Michael Jordan, hang time like you've never seen. He's gonna fly up, and it's off the wall. What a dunk.
You're looking at the only person in the world that beat Michael Jordan's hang time, because I took that ball. We had this little goal with suction cups that we put on the wall, and I did a flip in the air. I kind of bounced off a couple walls, and then over my head I slam dunked it and ripped the goal off the wall, and that just doing that spun me around.
But that was 30 years ago. These days, the man who once touched the stars is now striking down pins at the bowling alley and shattering the stereotype that age must slow us down.
I told the organizer for bowling how much I enjoyed it. It was so much fun, and it's not, I bowl in leagues, I bowl all over in tournaments, all over the country. It's the people, you know, they're getting to meet people in all these different states has just been wonderful.
And it's not just bowling, he also plays cornhole, even won a medal for it at the National Senior Games. And for all the things he's learned in space, he's learned even more from competing.
Sports always taught me you get knocked down and you get back up.
And something else you learn, whether it's getting along with crewmates in space or teammates at the lanes, there's nothing like camaraderie.
Here, I have a lot of people, we have similar experiences. Mine is a little far out, but similar experiences. And so, you know, you'll find if you compete in this, you're going to go away happy.
Larry talked about how being able to see the Earth from space makes you realize that we really are one. Well, he believes we owe it to ourselves to live our best lives possible, and that we owe it to each other to make a positive difference in any way we can, because when it comes down to it, folks, we are all in this together. Mark?
Well, you know, Bill, becoming an astronaut is tough, but it is, as they say, worth the ride. And that's exactly what Esther Hicks says about life. Esther is an author who writes about the law of attraction. Her work is behind the documentary The Secret. She's all over social media these days, channeling a group consciousness that's known as Abraham that wants to help us all understand the purpose of life. And at a recent workshop, Esther was asked what appeared to be a silly question that she, or Abraham, said was actually very profound. Here's our bold social clip of the week.
I kind of promised I wouldn't ask this question, but I'm going to anyhow.
Who did you promise?
This is it. I've mentioned to people and they said, oh, don't. But this is a quick one. Why do dogs risk getting bugs in their eyes, sticking their heads out of car windows?
Well, tell your friends that you have asked the most profound question that has ever been asked. And you have given us an opportunity to give the answer that we have been waiting a very long time to give. And that is because the contrast of the bugs in the eye is a small price to pay for the exhilaration of that ride. And it is exactly the same way you felt when you made the decision to come into this physical existence. It's exactly the way you felt when you knew there would be contrast and you said, the ride is going to be worth it.
Thank you.
Welcome back to What's Next. And you know, over the years, we've produced hundreds of shows and thousands of stories, but there is one story that's probably our most watched story ever. And it all started when we noticed a little lady driving an old car not far from Growing Boulder headquarters.
This is Chariot. And this is Rachel. They've been together 43 years. Chariot has lasted much longer than any of Rachel's 3 husbands.
She's never lied to me, never cheated on me, and I can always depend on her.
Rachel is 89. Chariot is a
1964 Mercury Comet Caliente hot. I've had her up to 120.
Rachel is the original owner and has put every one of the over 540,000 miles on Chariot's original engine.
How much did you pay for it?
$32.89, all deluxe, power steering, automatic transmission, air conditioning.
Rachel knew early on that she'd keep Chariot for a long time. So, whenever possible, she bought parts with lifetime warranties.
This was the 5th Midas muffler, lifetime guaranteed. I've had 7. This is the shocks from Sears, and I've had 3 sets. This is the lifetime guaranteed battery from Penny's, and Penny still pays for it, but Firestone puts it in, and I've had 16 free batteries.
Rachel has just returned from a trip to her 70th high school reunion. So tell me about the trip to Pennsylvania and back. Were you alone?
Oh, yes.
How many miles?
3,225 miles. And I don't want anybody to wait on or anybody to wait for. I go when I please and do as I please. And if I see a road, I'll take off. I don't even know where it goes, and I don't care. I just want to find out.
Are you ever afraid, though? You're 89, you're a woman, you're alone, you're in a car that's got 500,000 miles on it. This is why you're not afraid?
Maybe you shouldn't show that.
You know how to use it?
I took the classes. I have the concealed weapons permit.
Back in the driveway, Rachel polishes her pride and joy and is always ready for an impromptu class in auto mechanics.
That's the generator. That's the power steering wheel. This is the air conditioner. That's the cruise control.
Have you ever thought about what would happen if the Chariot dies?
You know what my daughter said? She said we'd soon be burying my mother.
But that's many years and many miles down the road. Rachel and Chariot have traveled more than 500,000 miles together to the moon and back, and both are still running strong. That video led directly to Rachel appearing on the Today Show, The Tonight Show with Jay Leno, interviews with major media organizations all over the world, and even a personal gift from the president of the Ford Motor Company. Rachel passed away back in 2017 at the age of 98, but not before we took a final spin in which I finally convinced her to let me drive Chariot into the garage. And let's just say she was not pleased with the way I drove. You can see that story on growingbolder.com.
Welcome back to Growing Boulder's What's Next. It is time now for your take. This is where we hear from a few of our more than 1 million social followers on our question of the week. So guys, if you haven't seen this, there's been a viral trend recently, TikTok and Instagram, that revealed that a lot of people, men in particular, find themselves randomly thinking about the Roman Empire from time to time. Very weird. I don't get it unless maybe you're watching a gladiator movie. So, of course, we had to ask, what is something that you think about daily that would surprise us? So Glow says that they are often thinking about mystery book plots. Now that makes a lot more sense, right, than the Roman Empire, I think. Rhonda finds herself thinking of the origin of man, another good one. Becky says she catches herself thinking about quantum timelines. Ooh, string theory, I love that one. So Cecily, what about you? I'm gonna guess you're not usually thinking about the Roman Empire.
You're absolutely right.
Something weird that you think about that we don't know about you.
Well, you probably don't know that I don't think about it daily, but if I were Olivia Pope, how would she handle things in our society right now? How is that going to be handled? So, in the words of Olivia Pope, it's handled.
That's a good one. Bill, how about you?
This is a weird question, guys. This is something that I think your analyst should be asking you. But it does make you think, and it does kind of fall. I guess I would say, if I'm walking on the street and I walk past a stranger, I kind of wonder about their story. You know, and sometimes you make it up in your mind. What is their life like? What do they do? What have they been through? So I kind of make a little movie in my head and just thinking about strangers.
That makes
sense.
No
Romans,
since you
just strangers.
Are masterful storyteller, Bill. That makes sense. And speaking of stories, I think, you know what I do is when I read a good book, a novel, and I start feeling like those characters are my close personal friends and family, and then I'm done with the book, I actually think about them later. And I'm like, I wonder what they're doing today. I'm like, oh wait, they're not real. Sometimes I do. I make my book characters real in my life sometimes.
You know, I have had a lot of very weird dreams lately that I can't talk about. In truth, what I think about every day is very mundane. Don't think about the Roman Empire, but I do think every day about what's for dinner, how are my kids doing, and what the hell is the matter with the world? What's wrong with mankind? Why can't we all get along each and every day about 20 times? That's my main thought. And folks, as we wrap this up, remember that nobody ever said life is going to be easy. And the truth is, it's not. But as Esther Hicks says, the ride is worth it. The key is to focus on the good and not be overwhelmed by the bad. Mr. Rogers famously told his audience, "When I was a boy and I would see scary things in the news, my mother would say to me, look for the helpers. You will always find people who are helping." I think the key to making the ride worth it is being a helper. We'll see you next time.